Hello, that's right, it's Nick Dutch. I'm back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how the heck's it going? And I'm doing this particular video, well, recording it, prior to going back onto YouTube, because I know what's going to happen. Like, YouTube is a bit like being stoned, okay? You go onto YouTube and, like, all the rest of the world sort of, like, disintegrates and, like, stops existing. It's just like when I was in college, yes, I do confess I did smoke pot when I was in college. It was a long time ago. I'm in my mid-30s now. That's all that's behind me. And there was this one time when I was like smoking pot in the bathroom with this one particular hippie guy, and we just had so much that the only thing that existed was like the bathroom, and then the bathroom door was opened by one of his flatmates, and all of a sudden the fact that the hall was there was like a whole expanded reality, and it was peculiar. Well, that's a bit like being on YouTube, and if I wanted to make a video, I don't think I'd actually be able to do it if I was to log into YouTube like right now. I would get drawn into watching people's videos, trying to find the ones that's talking about the latest drama with certain particular individuals out there, okay, and various things that people are saying about this, that, and the other, and all those little finicky little arguments that people are having about semantic problems and issues and all the rest of it, and the only thing that will exist will be like the computer screen and my keyboard, and that's it, and then all the rest of the world will melt away into nothing until I realise that like there's other things happening in the world, and there's like, you know, sky and trees, and it can be a pretty crazy experience being on YouTube sometimes. And of course there's a blog TV sessions as well, and like Physical Conservative or someone like that will end up having one of those incredibly entertaining blog TV sessions that I just can't miss it, you know, and I won't actually get this particular video done. Now, some of you people that have seen the history of me sort of developing this kind of identity with the concept of Deism, which has actually been pretty groovy for me. Of course, I'd heard the concept before because I'd seen people, again on YouTube, talking about the founding fathers of the United States of America and the fact that they were all deists as well, and, you know, wasn't that absolutely interesting and wonderful, and all that confusion about is America a Christian country or a deist country or a secular country and all that kind of stuff is just, it was interesting. And yeah, I heard the term there, but I didn't actually think about looking into it and researching deism until Agnostic Man 77 had actually done a particular video on calling himself a deist, which was of course interesting because he's actually quite a hard atheist. That's what started the whole thing going, and I've actually opened up a blog on the Unified Deism website, which I'm probably going to link to down there if I remember at some convenient moment or point in time. But I was thinking about the time when I was looking much more into the videos from the pagan community, which I did in my earlier days of being on YouTube. And I've kind of moved away from that. And I've looked much more into atheists, freethinkers, scientists, and all the rest of that to try and, I suppose, increase my basis of general knowledge, and also to re-educate me or increase my educational level to make it deeper and all the rest of it. But I was thinking about how important the concept of deism could be when I was looking into the pagan community. And I don't know whether you remember this or not, or whether that was actually within your YouTube days. But there was a bit of a conflict when Blue Fire Witch was getting on rather well with Prince Lord Christopher. And there was some talk about Christian Wicca. And that created a big you-know-what storm amongst the pagan community. And there was Amber Thinks chimed in, calling it Wiccan Christian bullshit. And there was all kinds of people throwing the F-bomb left, right and centre, saying you can't do that and you can't do that and dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. And wouldn't it have been a damn sight easier if they had just lost the dogma? You know, just let that slide away and consider deism or pan-deism to have been what they were doing, which would have allowed them to think for themselves and to include aspects of Christianity, aspects of Wicca, aspects of Judaism, Islam, different forms of paganism, yoga, Eastern mythology, and all that kind of stuff, and chakras, and God alone knows what else, and throw it into the mix for them. But they didn't do that. What really was going on there, what really was happening. And it's a problem of definitions, and it's a problem of culture. Because it appears that so many people confuse religion and conduct, as if to say, I will be a member of this religion so that I can then fulfill the conduct which is being defined by this particular religion. And this would explain to me in much more graphic detail why I was treated badly when I was within the pagan world and when I was asking questions. And I was being critical, and I was being bullied, and I was being treated badly by people who were trying to force me to follow various traditions of their conceptualization. Of course, I had the motivation of needing to find a form of therapy for my health problems. That's essentially what led me into magic. Of course, that was spurred on by my initial strange experiences, which was part of the process, just like when I found out about Deism through Agnostic Man 7/7. That started a chain reaction of thoughts and research which has led me to a new label and self-conceptualization and self-identification, which allows me to think. But the thing which led me into the occult was a couple of strange experiences first, and then things grew on from there. But it took me down this really dark alleyway, and this really dark alleyway was that of even more dogma, even more extremism. And it wasn't necessarily all that different. I think it was a few months back when Jason King 666, I think is the channel name, I could be wrong there, did a video that Tannhaus replied to, and it was about the Goetia, Crowley's Goetia, saying that, isn't like the Goetia or the Lesser Key of Solomon just some heap of rubbish, because it's old. And as pagans and as Satanists and Wiccans, these groups of people were revering something that is old because it is old, in the same manner that the fundamentalist Christians revered the Bible because it's allegedly stood the test of time. I mean, I knew that. I knew that quite simply, that it was a hypocrisy for people within paganism to assume that they were closer to the truth because they had something that was older than, let's say, the Bible. Or indeed for the Christians to assume that they were in touch with the truth because the Bible has stood the test of time. Because just because something's been around for a long period of time doesn't mean to say it's right or correct or indeed useful. And of course with the occultists, the New Age occultists, things are made even more difficult and the waters are muddied even further when they actually have strange experiences. I knew this Wiccan gentleman who, with certain particular experiences, had jumped to a massive conclusion that his experiences were the proof that he was following the one and only true religion. Not that there's a peculiar phenomenon within the natural worlds, and these are its defining characteristics, and it's a strange experience. That was not part of his calculations. It was much more a question of, this is proof to me that I am following the one and only true religion. To which my point would be, who cares? You've got a phenomenon, you label yourself as a magician, which implies artistic and scientific thought. So, can you please just provide some artistic and scientific thinking to this particular phenomenon? But no, on his side of things it was a question of, no, we must follow the tradition, we must do basically as we are told. Again, I think that this is where my new toy, so to speak, namely Deism, comes into play quite nicely, because I'm not in that mindset, and I don't have to be in that mindset, and it's wrong for me to be in that mindset if I'm going to be a free thinker, as well as someone who's a bit weird and heebie-jeebie and kooky and all the rest of it. I mean, does it make rational sense to me for me to follow a dogma? I can conceptualize that if there is a hypothetical time in my future when everything gets a bit too much and gets on top of me too much, that I will want a structure. I will want that kind of, this is who you are, this is what you do it. I can conceptualize of that, so I can understand when someone has gone through the mill too much, that they will join into a group of people that's got that kind of way of thinking. So I can't realistically have any animosity against someone who's done that, because that's their choice out of the pressures in their life. I mean, even creationism. We all know that scientifically speaking and academically speaking, creationism is an abhorrence. But with some individuals, they need it. They need something which is quite that black and white and not quite that solid and stable. So essentially, let them at it. Obviously, that the argument needs to be changed when we're talking about therapies, cures for diseases, research into the origin of life, and so on and so forth. But some people need that. Deism allows me to not necessarily be like that if I don't want. So it's actually quite a good way for me to see the world. Okay, great and glorious Nick Dutch signing out for now.